pollution. Some types of pollution is greenhouse gases, air pollution, light pollution, soil pollution, and water pollution. What are greenhouse gases? Greenhouse gases are gases that trap heat and make the planet warmer. Human activities are responsible for almost all of the increase in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere over the last 150 years. The largest source of greenhouse gas emissions from human activities in the United States is from burning fossil fuels for electricity, heat, and transportation. What are the main sources of greenhouse gas emissions? Transportation is 28% of emissions. Over 94% of the fuel used for transportation is petroleum-based, which includes primarily gasoline and diesel. Electricity production is 25% of emissions. In 2021, 60% of our electricity comes from burning fossil fuels, mostly coal and natural gas. Agriculture accounts for 10% of emissions. It comes from livestock such as cows, agricultural soils, and rice production. Land use and forestry account for 12% of emissions. However, managed forests and lands have absorbed more emissions than they produce. More sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Industry accounts for 23% of emissions that primarily come from burning fossil fuels for energy, as well as greenhouse gas emissions from certain chemical reactions necessary to produce goods from raw materials. Commercial and residential accounts for 13% of emissions, including fossil fuels burned for heat and the use of gases for refrigeration and cooling in buildings, and non-building specific emissions such as the handling of waste. Industry and commercial and residential emissions account for 30% each if electricity is accounted for. How can you decrease greenhouse gas emissions? Anyone can help contribute to cutting back on greenhouse gas emissions by reducing the amount of plastic and metals purchased. This can be done by growing available food rather than buying something prepackaged. Planting things in itself even reduces greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. More emissions can be cut down by using less things which run on gas and by shutting off electricity when possible. What is air pollution? Air pollution is a mix of hazardous substances from both human-made and natural sources. Vehicle emissions, fuel oils, and natural gas to heat homes, byproducts of manufacturing and power generation, particularly coal-fueled power plants, and fumes from chemical production are the primary sources of human-made air pollution. How can you decrease air pollution? Similarly to greenhouse gas emissions, you can help by using things which burn gas less, like internal combustion engine vehicles which burn gas. You can also grow your own food and shut off electricity when and where possible. What is light pollution? The primary cause of light pollution is outdoor lights that emit light upwards or sideways. Any light that escapes upward, except where a tree or building may be blocking it, will scatter throughout the atmosphere and brighten the night sky, thereby diminishing the view of it. Air pollution particles will also increase the scattering of light at night, just as it impacts visibility in the daytime. How can you reduce light pollution? You can reduce light pollution by using downward-facing lights and taking steps to reduce air pollution. You can also use less powerful light bulbs and use motion activation when possible, or just turn them off when they aren't in use. Recent research shows that light that emitted slightly upwards is the most likely to cause light pollution, even more than lights which face directly up, so they should be avoided the most. What is soil pollution? Soil pollution appears when the concentration of pollutants on the surface becomes so high that it harms land biodiversity and endangers health, particularly through food. Activities such as livestock breeding and intensive farming use chemicals, pesticides, and fertilizers that pollute the land because of heavy metals and other natural and man-made chemical substances. How can you improve soil health? You can improve soil health by growing your own produce at home, making and using fertilizer which you make, or any organic fertilizers rather than chemical ones, and by not using pesticides. What is water pollution? Water pollution occurs when harmful substances, often chemicals or microorganisms, contaminate a stream, river, lake, ocean, aquifer, or other body of water, degrading water quality and rendering it toxic to humans or the environment. Sources of water pollution. Water pollution is mostly from the agriculture industry, sewage and wastewater, oil pollution, and radioactive substances. How can you improve water health? You can improve water health by not using chemical fertilizers or pesticides, as runoff can bring them into water sources. You can also clean up litter tossed in bodies of water, as they can also contaminate it or throw off the ecosystem inside. Citations: